No bueno. All right, so here we are, listing presentation workshop part 2. Again, the link for this is in the chat box, although I will post it again right now so you have it. So that way, when we're done here, you can take this and print it out or utilize however you want with it. All right, so we did part 1 last week, so we did questions 1 through 5. So now we're going to go through questions starting at question 6. We're going to jump into this. We're going to do upswings, downswings, tonalities, facial expressions, all that good stuff. So before we get started, just so you know the difference of what we're talking about here, upswing versus a downswing. An upswing is when at the your voice kind of goes up. Like, so it'd be like, for example, number 6B. Now, example, there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight, right? Your voice goes up on an upswing. You're only using an upswing to create doubt, okay? So you weren't planning on selling it yourself, were you? Right? You're creating doubt with an upswing. You use a downswing when you're creating more of a matter of fact. Think of it almost as a rhetorical question, right? So, so it would be more of, you weren't thinking about selling it yourself, were you? Right? It's more of authority. It's more of kind of a matter of fact rhetorical question type of thing. Most of the time, we use downswings or no swing. Very rarely do we use an upswing because there are very few times we're trying to create doubt in a conversation. But a lot of people, when I listen to recordings, and I thank you all for that do send recordings, tend to use a lot of upswings at the end of your sentences, which is creating doubt in the eyes of the client, right? Because you're giving them kind of an option. So that's the difference between upswing and a downswing. So just so you know. All right, so let's jump into this. Number 6 on the listing presentation says, now there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. Number 1, your motivation to sell this home. And number 2, the price we set on your home. There's you don't have to do a downswing on any of part of number 6. Just don't do an upswing. Okay. So I'm going to write in here. Don't have to down. Oh boy. I'm going to get used to this computer by the time we're done. Just don't upswing. Okay. I would color it in red, but I'm afraid of what might happen if I push another button on this damn thing. All right, good stuff. Don't have to upswing, just don't, or don't have to downswing, just don't upswing. So you don't want number 6 to go. Now, there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. Number 1 is your motivation to sell this home. And number 2, the price we set on your home. Like, you don't want that to be an upswing type of a situation because you're not, when there's only 2 options, you need to create more of an authority because you don't want them to have more options, correct? Now, the reality is, other than price and motivation, is there really anything else that is that important when it comes to selling the house? Like at its core? The answer is no. Okay. There's really nothing else that's that important because other than price and motivation, if there's anything else driving them to potentially sell their house, then it's not a motivated client. Okay. Price and motivation are 2 things. So it doesn't have to be a downswing. It could just don't be an upswing. So now there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. Number 1, your motivation to sell this home. And number 2, the price we set on this home. Now, does anybody know what these 3 dots represent when you see these on the script?
Pause.
A pause. Thank you. Good job. Make sure it's really important that you pause. Okay. Pause on the 3 dots because I want you to listen to these 2 options. Now, there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. Number 1, your motivation to sell this home. And number 2, the price we set on your home. Option 1 or option 2. Now, there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. Number 1, your motivation to sell this home. And number 2, the price we set on your home. Do you see the difference, feel the difference when you use the dots for the pause and just that one sentence? Okay. So make sure to use the dots. This is more important on this particular sentence than sometimes of the other dots, but this one you really want to try to hone in on. All right, good stuff. So then you go to number 7. I've prepared what we call a comparative market analysis. There are 2 parts to this research. Part 1 we call Fantasyland. So have a little bit of fun. Not fub. Have a little bit of fun. So I want you to be honest with me. Who here gets a little bit uncomfortable doing this part 1 we call Fantasyland? Yeah, I know some of you do. And I know some of you do because I hear it in your presentations when you send them to me. All right. You get really nervous about the Fantasyland thing. Why are we doing this? Number 7 says part 1 we call Fantasyland, what homeowners list homes for. Part 2 we call reality. What is the major goal we're trying to establish with number 7? Why are we even doing number 7?
To help bring them to reality a little bit,
On what?
because on the price of their
Price.
list price.
Yeah, price. We're trying to establish, yes, Bianca, you're right. We're trying to establish some sort of authority on price, right? So there's Fantasyland and reality. What's the other thing that we're subtly hinting at in number 7?
We're we're preparing them just in case they are planning to be that fantasy land, that you're basically putting the expectation before the issue arises.
And what
If
would
that
be the issue? What's the issue? What's the possible issue that they might have in Fantasyland?
Overpricing their
the
property.
overpriced.
But overpricing is not an issue. What is the issue from overpricing?
The property be sitting on the market for a long period of time.
That's it. So you're all right, right? So it's overpricing. That is the issue. But the end result is that it's over time. So what we're doing in number 7 here is we're subtly telling them not every home sells. Do some people, especially in Southern California, because of how prices are, things like that, do they all assume that their home is going to sell? Are there sellers like that? I'm going to get my price. The home's going to sell. Do all homes sell? No. Because if all homes sold, we wouldn't have expired listings, canceled listings, withdrawn listings, things like that. Most of those all come down to price. So what number 7 is doing is to Bianca's point, it was what she said here is like, hey, we're kind of giving you a little bit on reality check on pricing that we're going to get to when we get to the comps. And then the other thing is that we're doing a little subtle that not every home sells, because if you go to number 7, it says, I've prepared what we call comparative market analysis. There are 2 parts to this research. Part 1 we call Fantasyland, what homeowners list homes for. That's what homeowners list homes for. Part 2 we call reality, what real estate agents list and sell homes for. Okay. Fantasyland is this is what you list it for. Reality is this is what it sells for. Right. So we're going to have to decide tonight where you're going to spend some time. The reason I put down and have some fun with Fantasyland, because you're trying to, establish fantasy versus reality and things along those lines. But the word Fantasyland, if you try to say Fantasyland too serious, it just sounds weird. Okay. There are 2 parts to this research. Part 1 we call Fantasyland. Okay. Like it just comes across weird, right? There are 2 parts to this research. Part 1 we call Fantasyland, what homeowners list homes for. Part 2 we call reality, what real estate agents list and sell homes for. Okay, we're gonna have to decide tonight where you're gonna spend your time. So you can have some fun with Fantasyland. I've seen agents on their presentation use hand gestures. Part 1 we call Fantasyland. But you can have some fun with the Fantasyland part. Now, right here, you're gonna emphasize the sell. Emphasize sell homes. Okay. Because part 1, this is what homeowners list homes for. Part 2, we call reality, what real estate agents list and sell homes for. right? You're going to emphasize the sell homes because that's what it's about. We're going to have to decide tonight where you're going to spend your time. Okay. Makes sense? Number 7. Okay. Because number 7 is kind of important because number 7 is one of those points that is really establishing later down the presentation. Okay. You're kind of setting some foundations for later on in the presentation. All right. Very good. So then we go to number 8. The purpose of the comparative market analysis is to determine the value of your home in the eyes of the buyer. Do you know how buyers determine value? Okay, pretty basic, nothing really there. Now, they're going to give you some sort of answer. Now, here's the little tip on transitioning from 8 to 9. Whatever they give you, just assume that it makes sense unless it's really ridiculous, right? So do you know how buyers determine value? So for those of you that go on listing presentations, what are some responses you get when you say, do you know how buyers determine value? What are some responses you get from people?
They
How
look at
much a
Zillow.
buyer can afford.
Yeah, how much a buyer can afford. I look at Zillow, right? How much buyers determine value. What other responses do you get when you say, do you know how buyers determine value?
They
I
shop
don't
the
know.
internet.
I shop the internet. Yeah, that's how buyers determine value. Okay. So whatever they say, so they say, do you know how buyers determine value? Oh, they go shop at Zillow. Right, exactly. So what buyers do is they determine value by comparison shopping. Right? So whatever they say, yeah, exactly. Buyers determine value by comparison shopping. Okay. Unless it's something totally ridiculous. Then it's like, well, hold on, maybe I need to take a step back here, right? But just whatever they say, it's somewhat agreeable, and then just jump right in. Buyers determine value by comparison shopping. I had an old sales coach that used to do that to try to get somebody on. If somebody was getting off topic, whatever they were talking about, you would say, speaking of that, and then get back on topic. So let's say, for example, somebody for some reason got on the topic of fishing, right? You made some sort of comment, build rapport, and they get it on fishing, this fishing trip. Speaking of fishing, do you know how buyers determine value? Like that was his little secret. It's like you would just, whatever they were talking about, speaking of this, and then get back and it worked. But it's kind of the same thing here, right? Whatever they say, oh, yeah, exactly. They look at Zillow. Yeah, they do research online and they determine value by comparison shopping. They look at the price of your home based on its features and benefits and compare it with features and benefits of similar homes that have sold recently or are currently on the market. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is a downswing at the end. Okay, your downswing at the end because you want this to be like a rhetorical question because it should make sense, right? You're telling them how buyers determine value, they comparison shop. So at the end, so when you get to the end, they determine features and benefits of similar homes that have sold recently or currently on the market. Does that make sense? Right? It's a little bit of a downswing. You don't want to do an upswing because an upswing creates what? Doubt. Upswing creates doubt. Do I want to create doubt when I'm talking about how buyers determine value? No. So in number 9, I don't want to go. Now, does that make sense? Because it's creating them the opportunity to question it. Well, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me. Right? So you do a downswing. Does that make sense? Okay. Because you want to make sure it's more of a rhetorical type of question. All right. So pretty basic stuff. For example, if you're going to purchase a new car, now I'm going to upgrade this because there are things. I love Mike. I love him. Okay. He's been a great mentor to me. But there are some things that are downloadable on his website that don't really go with current times. This would be one of them. Because if you download the listing presentation on his websites, it says, now, if you were going to purchase a new car and the dealership had a car for $20,000, and I'm thinking to myself, what kind of car are you getting? What? I mean, a used car, maybe, but it says purchase a new car.
Robert, I just need to tell you that they changed it.
Did they
That's
change
right.
it?
Yes,
They
I have
finally
a.
must have because we were giving him grief on it for years.
So I'm gonna tell you what is right
What does it say
now.
now? I'll bet it's still not
Um,
realistic.
it's it's let's see here. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm gonna find it. Oh, I'm gonna check this. I'm sorry.
I think now it says 50.
Does it say 50?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, look at
50,000, and
him.
it says like it includes fancy wheels and upgrade audio system.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. 50. Well, I'm glad he's upgraded a little bit. Okay. So let's say here you purchase a dealership and they had a car for $50,000.
I bet
Right?
his car costs more than $50,000.
So for those of you that have ever been at a superstar retreat, Mike does a really great job of making fun of the cars that you have. And he'll call people out and say, well, how much is your monthly payment? And good to see you. How much is your monthly payment? And someone will say like $400 or $500, and he'll be like, what kind of car do you drive? And he'll just make fun of you because he expects your payment to be like $1,000, $1,500, things like that. And don't tell him it's paid off because then he really gets annoyed.
Oh my gosh, he will be so annoyed with me.
Although my favorite, I'm more of a pay stuff off kind of guy. And Ibrahim Awada, this is a good story, so you'll be all right. Ibrahim Awada, who's in Washington, is a guy, very inspirational guy, came from Africa. He's made all this money in a variety of different things. But I was having lunch with him one day at a retreat, and he was talking about how he went and bought a new car, and he pays cash for everything. And the salesman said, do you know roughly what your credit score is? He goes, I have no idea because I just pay for everything. And I was like, that is the mentality I want to have. He has no idea what his credit score is because he just pays cash for everything that he buys. I'm like, that is great. That's the life I want to live. All right, good stuff. There you go. All right, so if you're going to purchase a new car, and one dealership had the car for $50,000 and another dealership had the same car for $50,000. And actually, let's upgrade audio system because actually new cars don't have CD players. An upgraded audio system and fancy rims, which car would be more valuable? Okay. And then they're going to obviously say the one with 50,000 and fancy rims. Why? Now, let me ask you this. Now, this is again, who here is uncomfortable doing the car analogy? Be honest. So I'm going to share a dirty little secret with you. First of all, does everybody understand why we do the analogy? Forget that it's a car. Does everybody understand why we do this analogy in the presentation? Is everybody on board with that? Some of you also don't have your camera on. I'm going to remove you if you don't turn your camera on in a minute. At some point, you guys will realize I don't fuck around when it comes to that. Sorry for cursing, but I'm tired of having to bring it up every class. I don't talk to all black screens.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Does everybody understand why we do the analogy?
Yes.
Okay. If it's the car part that you have a problem with, pick a different item. Okay. So let me give you an example. So let's say you're going to work with somebody, you're going on a listing presentation with somebody, and you know that they like really nice handbags. Use a handbag. Let's say you were going to purchase a new Louis Vuitton handbag. And one store had the handbag. Okay, like let's say you're going to go purchase some new Jimmy Choo shoes. And you're thinking, Robert, how do you know about Louis Vuitton and Jimmy Choo shoes? I have a wife. That's how I know about Louis Vuitton and Jimmy Choo and things like that. You don't have to use, if it's the car part, pick something else. Okay. But this analogy part is really important. This is going to help you establish, again, going back to pricing later on. So if you're going to purchase a new car and one dealership had a car for $50,000, another dealership had the same car for $50,000, but it had an upgraded audio system and fancy rims, which car would be more valuable? There's really no upswings or downswings there. It's just a statement. Okay. You ask why. Now, what if the first dealership, now you could, it's not a necessary thing, but you could emphasize the what if, right? To create some sort of excitement. Okay. So let me give you an example on how that would sound. Okay. Which car would be more valuable? Why? Well, the second one. Why? Because I'm getting more for the same amount of money. Fantastic. So what if the first dealership, right? So I could kind of create that little excitement with the what if. What if the first dealership put the car with no audio system, no upgraded, on sale for, let's call it 35,000, which would be more valuable then, and why? So make sure when you're doing this example that the decrease from one price to the other one is enough for them to actually go with the first one. Because what are we trying with number 11? We're trying to get them to go purchase the cheaper car, right? That's the goal. And so we're saying, well, what if the first dealership put the car with no upgraded system and rims on sale for 35,000, which would be more valuable then? That's a $15,000 drop. So they're going to go with the first car. But if I had said, what if the first dealership put the car with no upgrade system and rims on sale for 45,000, only given a $5,000 drop, is it possible that the seller is going to say, oh, I'll still take the $50,000 car? Because it's only 5,000. They're like, oh, it's only $5,000. You know, what's the difference between 45,000 and 50 really? So then you're screwed because now you can't go through the rest of the presentation. So make sure whatever you're going to do here, that the number is a deep of a discount where they're going to say, oh, no, I would take the $35,000 car, 15 grand. I don't need the upgraded system and rims. Okay. So as you can see, if you want to increase value, you either A, lower the price, or B, have more features and benefits for the same price. Does that make sense? Again, you're going to downswing here.
Robert, can you, I kind of hate this sentence, but can you kind of just, I mean, I maybe I'm the only one, but
you're not.
Lower the price. You're gonna, if you want to increase.
So if you want to increase value, you either A, lower the price. So again, so it's increasing value in the eyes of the buyer is essentially what we're trying to establish here. So if you want to increase value in the eyes of a buyer, you either lower the price, because the lower price will obviously create value, because a buyer is going to go, wow, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,500 square feet for $650,000. That's great. Okay, so I can lower the price or have more features and benefits for the same price, meaning that, okay, well, there's 2 homes on the market. They're both $850,000, but this one has an upgraded kitchen and upgraded flooring. So it's got more features and benefits for the same price as the other one on the market. So that's what we're trying to avoid here, is for the client to say, well, I have more features and benefits, so therefore I want to increase my price. This one's listed at $850. I want to list mine for $950. That's what we're trying to avoid. So we're trying to make it say, no, keep the price at $850 as your competitors, but you're going to have more value because you're going to have more features for the same price as your competitor, which is going to drive more buyers to the property. Does that make sense? Okay. So number 12, again, is a downswing because we want to make like a rhetorical question. So you can see if you want to increase value, A, lower the price, or B, have more features and benefits at the same price. Does that make sense? Again, you're downswing because you want to create a matter of fact, no doubt on that particular thing. Okay. All right, good. Okay, questions on what we've done so far? Okay, let me post this again in the chat box. So we have it. Oh, Command V. Learning to use this computer. That is not mine. So but here's what I want you to notice. The same thing we did with part 1. There's a decent amount of red on the paper. So this is where you transition from a B-level listing agent to an A-level listing agent, when you can do these upswings, downswings, all these wonderful little tools. All right, good stuff. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to put you into breakout rooms to role play this. And I just want you to role play this portion, but really focus. Don't focus on the words, focus on the reds. Okay. So not for number 6, when it says don't have a downswing, don't have to downswing, just don't upswing, make sure to use the pauses. When you do number 6, just make sure that you're focused on that. Now, there are only 2 issues we have to look at tonight. I don't care if it flows well. I want you to work on the words, the tonality, those different things. Okay. So let me set up some breakout rooms here. Everybody here okay to do some role play? Yeah, Robert, we love to do role play. Great. So glad everyone agreed. Not everyone agreed. Wait, I was at 42, down to 34. Oh, now you want me to actually use it? No. Nobody said this can't be fun. All right, let me do some breakout rooms here. Let's close the rooms. Let's recreate. Assign automatically. All right, very good. Okay, so I'm going to move everybody into breakout rooms. I want you to just role play this portion of the script, and we'll do that for a couple minutes. I'm going to bounce around, and then we're going to come back and discuss a little bit more and go from there. All right, so don't be shy. You're going to be all good. All right, so let's open up these rooms. Let's have some fun. How do I scroll down on this page? Jesse, how do I scroll down on this page here? So I want to see the break. Okay, well, I don't know what I did here. Okay, and no, I want to move some people. So I want you to go to room 3, and then how do I go see the rest of the rooms? Because I need to move some people. Okay. Oh, okay. You do this. Do this part. Move Valerie into room 1. Move up. No. Move Valerie. Move her into room 1. I think. Yep. Okay. There's 2 people in that room. Juan Carlos has got 2 people. There's 2 people there. I just want to make sure everybody has somebody. Okay. All right. Groovy.
On your laptop back?
Yeah, I only have 10 minutes left here, and then you can have your stuff back. Did you let him know that I'm doing a class? Oh, I text you. Can you let Keith know that I'm doing a class? So that's why I'm not out there interacting with people.
We're almost done. Oh, I think they finished already.
Okay, well, I know, but just let him know I'm not interacting because I'm doing a class. All right. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. Anyone have any heart problems for doing that role play for 2 to 3 minutes?
Yes.
No.
I did.
See, practice.
The downswing and
right.
upswing.
Okay, so now that you did that for a couple minutes, questions?
Yes.
Anything?
I have a question, Robert.
Yes.
My tonality, it's a bit rough sometimes and too loud. So to do the downswings, it's a little hard for me, you know, because I'm a little too expressive when I'm talking. So it's hard to lower my tone. Then I feel like I'm just too low, and I don't want to, you know. How can I overcome that, or how can I make it work with this listing presentation?
Well, one thing is when you're doing a downswing, it doesn't have to be overly aggressive. Okay. So for example, like on this one here, number 9, you know, features and benefits similar homes that have sold recently are currently on the market. Does that make sense? So like it's just a little subtle, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more down instead of, does that make sense? Right? So just remember that, number 1. It doesn't have to be over the top, doesn't have to be too aggressive. You just want to have some sort of authority on it. The expressive part of that is it's fine because you want to be excited. And so when you're excited, that's when the upswings kind of tend to take place, because excitement and upswings kind of lead hand in hand. So you just have to practice it, and then but record your practice, because then you'll know when you're not doing the upswings or when you're doing the downswings, because we have no clue when we're doing an upswing or downswing. We have no clue. I don't have any clue when I'm doing an upswing or a downswing unless I can hear it. So practice it, and then when you hear, if it comes across too harsh, because sometimes it can. Does that make sense? It's like, okay, it's too harsh. I got a feeling that's probably not the case for you. I think you might be overthinking it, but record it and listen to it and send me the recordings, and we'll see if that's how it goes. But just remember, my only piece of advice, just remember, it doesn't have to be too aggressive.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. Other questions from what we went over today, or role playing it, things like that?
Me.
Yes.
Robert, when you say recording, do you want us a recording practicing with somebody else? Do you want doing a Zoom, or just
you have to
with the phone yourself and that's it?
No, don't do it with yourself, because I think everyone should chant it out or write it out. I think that's good practice to learn the scripts, but into tonality, you really have to be presenting to somebody. So it could be somebody in the office and you just have your phone or something recording it, or you can hop on a Zoom and record it via Zoom or Teams or whatever other thing there are. But yeah, you probably won't get the tonality when you're just chanting it out yourself. You got to be role playing with somebody who's playing the seller. But I would record it again, either on your phone or on Zoom or something like that. Record it and then go back and watch it, or send it to me. I take my Fridays to watch videos and listen to prospecting stuff. So I'll always watch them and give some feedback. But that's the only way that we're going to figure out if we're doing upswings or downswings. So a perfect example. Anyone here ever been guilty of using a word that they had no idea they used 1,000 times, but somebody called them out on it other than me? What was your word?
Like.
Likes of it, you know, like and and yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah. That actually makes me laugh, because there was a guy I knew from, I knew him briefly, from Tennessee, and he had a really thick accent, and I couldn't understand anything he said, but he would always say that. He would go, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. But he would do it every time. You know what I mean? Like, no, I don't. You know what I mean? Mine was awesome. Everything. Oh, where are you moving? Oh, we're moving to Seattle. Oh, awesome. How soon do you have to be there? Oh, before summer. Oh, that's awesome. What do you want to just please describe your home? It's 3 bedrooms too. Oh, it's awesome. I used awesome all the time. And then Gene Tanner Gene Tanner goes, she was listening. She didn't say it to me directly, although I'm pretty sure it was meant for me. But she said it to a group and she was talking about that. And she goes, some people use the word awesome. And gosh, that's got to be one of the most uneducated words people can use. And I just put my head down like, okay, thanks. But I didn't realize it until I heard a recording and it was like, awesome, awesome. So it's the same thing here when you're doing the recordings. You don't really know. Cool. Yeah, Amanda says cool. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, cool. It's great. You don't really know the upswings and downswings unless you record it. And sometimes we've done this where we've heard recordings and the agent didn't realize they're doing an upswing constantly. So do you know how buyers determine value? Does that make sense? We're going to decide tonight where you're going to spend your time. Like they were upswinging every time. And it wasn't because they were trying to do an upswing. It's just that's the way they talk. And so when you record it, it makes all the difference in the world.
Robert, you're going to hear the advantage of having a thick accent?
What's that?
You're going to hear the advantage? Having a thick
go
accent?
ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
when I do the presentation, I ask, do you understand? That's my thing. I always ask. And they go like, say, you want me to go over again? I say, no, just tell us where to sign.
No, I don't want to go over it again. Please, no. What do I have to do to get you to leave?
Sign the contract.
Oh, so that's the secret. I'm going to call Nora Avalos in New York and say I just learned her top secret. She's been exposed. There it is. There it is. Good stuff. I love it. Good. All right. What other questions on what we went over today? All right. Very good. Okay. So here's my homework assignment for all of you. I'm glad you're all here. I'm glad you're taking this in. This is not fun. It's not cool. It's not sexy. It's not entertaining. I'm doing my best to keep it entertaining because this is not a fun topic, upswings, downswings, and it's not fun. But it is really, really important if you want to go from a B-level presenter to an A-level presenter or wherever category you're in to something better. And that's why we're doing this every week. Because listings are tougher to come by, you've got to give an A-level presentation if you want to take listings. Okay, so that's why I wanted to take each Tuesday to do this. Now let me back up. So my homework assignment I think all of you should do is, first of all, keep role playing the listing presentation. You'll be working on it every day. But take some time this week to really look at the upswings, the downswings, the using the pauses and things like that. You will notice such a major difference when you start getting that stuff down. So do that. And then again, record. If you want to record it, I spend all of I don't do coaching calls on Fridays, really, after the morning. I do coaching calls early in the morning Friday, but I don't do coaching calls after 11 o'clock on Friday because they're just not very valuable. So the rest of my day, all I do is listen to listing presentations, prospecting. So send them to me. I'll listen to them, give you some fair feedback. So do that. Next week, we're going to do part 3, but part 3 is going to be on Wednesday next week because Tuesday next week is also going to be listing presentation oriented, but I have Hal Swayze coming in to do a class on being a master at the listing presentation. For those of you that don't know who Hal Swayze is, in my opinion, he's the best listing agent there is, in my opinion. Okay. He's based in San Luis Obispo, so he's in Southern California because I know some people don't like when we do some of these masterminds because like, oh, they're in Michigan. It's a different market. Well, he's beach, Southern California, doing 100 to 200 deals a year, and he's as smooth as can be. So he's going to do a class Tuesday. We're going to do part 3 on this Wednesday. Sound good?
Sounds good. I'm same opinion like you.
Awesome.
All right, very good.
Good
Good job. All right, everybody. Good.